attack that we've seen over the last couple of days, and certainly following the attack that we saw several weeks ago, is also a reminder to the private sector about the need and the importance of hardening their own cybersecurity protections, of investing in and putting in place protections in their own systems.
That was Jen Psaki yesterday answering questions about the cyber attack on a major meat processing company's IT system.
Yeah, the ransomware attack continues to snarl the food supply chain, but who's responsible for protecting the nation's cyber systems?
All right, let's ask our panelists, Karen Turk, Mark Halprin, Rebecca Walser. Mark, we heard from Psaki there. Her response was similar to what she said after the ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline just a couple of weeks ago. She deflected responsibility to the private sector. Is that fair when these hacks impact so many Americans?
The government's going to have to be involved with this, but as was true during the Trump years, this is a difficult challenge for the government. A lot of these things do prey, as Jen Psaki correctly said, on the vulnerability of these private systems. There's only so much the government can do to kind of buttress these systems. We can go after, as a government, we can go after the culprits. But really, these private companies should do a much better job on their own, trying to figure out how to build systems that are protectable, because that can be done. You just have to spend enough money and hire enough experts to do it.
Seems to be a commonplace in the headlines these days. And a Russian cyber gang actually took credit for the attack, that one on the pipeline. But the Kremlin denied knowing anything about the gang's activities. Here's what Jen Psaki said when asked what Biden planned to do about the situation. Listen.
So we do expect this to be one of the issues that the president will discuss with President Putin at the summit. That will be 2 weeks from today. And in terms of considerations, we're not taking any options off the table in terms of how we may respond.
So Biden, Putin meeting in a couple of weeks, this in Geneva. If Biden confronts him, how would that conversation go? Rebecca, your thoughts on it?
Well, for every new administration, Sean, there's always a time of testing, and President Biden failed the first test, which was the hack on the pipeline. They were looking for what his reaction would be and what the United States was going to do, and we needed a strong government response that was completely lacking, and so it is completely rational that additional attacks are going to be forthcoming. And I agree that the private sector has the ultimate responsibility to protect their own infrastructure, but this presidency, this administration knows full well that Russia, unfortunately, is not respected Biden as they did Trump. I mean, look at Putin's comments just this week about maybe his administration is guilty of human rights violations regarding withholding the January 6 people in jail still, some of them. So this administration is not getting the respect of Russia like the Trump administration did, and I do have great concern for that for all Americans.
Yeah, it'll be so interesting to see what plays out on June 16th when the two world leaders are set to meet with one another. Karen, what do you think accountability looks like from the Biden administration when it comes to dealing with these foreign actors? Again, not necessarily tied to the Russian government, but we've also heard from foreign policy experts that the people in Russia, they know what's going on when these attacks take place.
Yeah, and there's been some evidence linking this to Russia, whether, Putin knows about it and whether or not Biden's going to call him out. I think we all know Biden's not really capable of calling anybody out. And, look at what a difference 120 some odd days makes from where our country was, just such a short time ago. If you look at the history when Donald Trump was in office, we weren't having this number of attacks, and we certainly didn't have a large attack like the one on this pipeline because there was somebody in office that was respected. And I do not think that there is international respect for President Biden. And I don't think that really he's willing to stand up to, this debacle. And I don't think that he will. I think he's going to take a very passive stance with it. And it's going to be a true issue for the American people going forward.
Mark Halprin, final thoughts on this, and I wonder how much of this, as you would speculate as well, if you can, it would really be just political theater. I mean, what we know so far, Russia, the government itself, the Kremlin, doesn't have anything to do with these attacks, though maybe it happened with this Russian group, Dark Side. But what can the President of the United States tell Vladimir Putin to do about these groups like Dark Side and others?
Well, look, Russia's a little bit of the Wild West, but I'd be stunned if Vladimir Putin was not aware of an operation like this that would have such a big impact on the relationships between the two countries. You'd be kind of a fool to do this if you were Russian and not have the at least tacit understanding and permission of Vladimir Putin. Look, I think the biggest challenge this White House faces right now, bar none, even including the pandemic, is how to get leverage over Vladimir Putin. And while Donald Trump was criticized for saying nice things about Putin, his economic policies, his diplomatic policies were pretty tough on Russia. And I think that the Biden administration is going to have to figure out how to be at least as tough and probably tougher if they're going to have any chance of changing this behavior.
Yet we've heard, of course, most recently from the president, he believes the biggest threat domestically here to the homeland is white supremacy. We hadn't heard directly talk about these cyber attacks from adversaries. Okay, Karen Turk, Mark Halperin, Rebecca Walser, we appreciate the insight. Thanks, you guys.